Let's just dive a bit deeper into your background. So what did you do at Macy's? Because you had a pretty incredible run there, didn't you?
Yeah, I love being in retail. I was there for a total of 10 years at Macy's, first leading corporate strategy, and then I had the fortunate opportunity to build our retail media network from scratch. So as a general manager, I was responsible for building the in-house team, making platform choices, and ultimately scaling the business for a few years, which was truly an incredible experience.
So what did you learn along the way about the category? What makes it so exciting?
There were so many learnings, but I'll boil it down to two. I think one is the evolution of demand. Just as many other retailers, we were leaning into the direct relationships we had with brands, and we were really excited about the incremental spend we started to see compared to pre-Macy's Media Network. The total media investment from our brand partners were increasing by about 60%. So that's awesome, right? We felt really good about the momentum we had in the business and the comprehensive offering we had developed. But over time, I started to feel that the growth rates were starting to be compressed because brands were measuring their investments as a percentage of the total business they were doing with the retailer.
Right.
And since the top line of the retailer didn't hold pace with the media investment growth of the brands, there was a natural compression happening over time. So it became a mandate to start finding new budget sources and diversifying the media investments. And so on that journey, I spoke with a lot of agencies and large brands, and it was very clear that what had worked so well with our direct brand partners, for example, managed services, wasn't really in tune with what the professional media buyers were looking for. So it was becoming very important to me to have a more connected, broader ecosystem of demand partners that would give the brands more flexibility and choice. But with that came, and that's the second key learning, an evolution that we needed to make in terms of the platform offering. And I felt that a lot of the technology that was available in the market for retailers at the time was really built for managed services. And with that, it wasn't very scalable. It didn't offer a lot of automation. Particularly the fixed pricing I thought was very challenging because as a retailer, we saw some categories where there was a lot of advertising demand. And we were very sold out and highly saturated and had challenges completing the budget delivery. At the same time, we had other categories where our fill rates were really low. And in a world where ad servers are highly inflexible with pricing, you run into a lot of challenges to really maximize the business and ultimately help the brand partners achieve their objectives. So it was clear to me that I ultimately wanted to move to self-service. And with that also came the need for much greater and more fluid pricing model and much more automation and ultimately outcomes orientation. And I felt somewhat dissatisfied with the limitations of the technologies that were in the market. So I was eager to build the next generation of ad technology, which is why I came to Criteo, because I was a very happy client of Criteo. And I thought that we would be perfectly equipped to build the next gen technology.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. So just briefly, you mentioned demand partners. What do you mean by demand partners in this context? Give us a sense of who those partners are.
Well, I think about it from a platform perspective. Of course, there is a question around who's generating demand, who's selling, but to me, the question is much broader. It's about what are ultimately the platform choices we need to make available to large brands and agencies for them to meet their objectives. And often, like the managed services model isn't working from them.
Right.
I heard that at Macy's, but I also am hearing that in my current role where I have the opportunity to speak with a lot of global leaders in retail media on the brand side. And they're telling me, Melanie, I'm sorry for my direct language, I'm sick of these campaign wrap-up reports. I don't want to write a check and then wait 6 weeks until after the campaign to know what's working, what's not. I want my teams, I want my agency in some cases, or in-house professional media teams to be hands-on keyword, activating and improving and optimizing. And that is not really the reality for a lot of retailers today. And I think there is a role and a place for managed services. I don't want to diminish the role for that because there is a media segment that is valuing service, that is looking for outcomes and is trusting the retailer to handle their campaigns. But particularly if you look at the largest brands that have increased their investments so much, they don't want to just lean back in the chair and wait for the retailer to do the job. Particularly if you want to get more than just the trade budgets, you need to be able to to earn the trust and the business of professional media buyers, and they may be wanting to activate in a unified platform in a unified way across multiple retailers. They may still, though, don't see like brands looking for fluidity in budgets. They may still be very intentional about how much they want to spend with each retailer, but at the same time, they need the ability to go into a single point of entry, into a platform where they can activate and optimize and measure in a more consistent way. And so I think that if you look at Amazon and Walmart, they're a big party in town, right? At the same time, they've built a huge ecosystem of partnerships and platforms into their stack. When you look at many other retailers, they're still trying to control the spend that the brands are doing with them. And I understand where they're coming from, because I sat in their shoes. When I was at Macy's, I also wanted to, for a significant amount of time, control. But then I also hit the point where it was becoming clear that control only gets you so far, right? Particularly if you want to diversify budgets and you want to earn the business of other media buyers that are holding other pockets of money, you need to meet the buyers where they are, and that requires retailers to open up the connectivity into other platforms.
Wow, so there's a lot going on. So stepping back, big picture, what are your quick high-level thoughts on where we are today in retail media? So it's developed phenomenally quickly as a category. It's also profoundly complex. There's a lot of, the systems integrators of the world are making hay while the sun is shining.
I venture to say that I call it the honeymoon phase is over. Because I think the brands have been excited about accountability, about transparency, and they've been increasing their spend quite significantly with retailers. But there is this point where, to my earlier point, if they're measuring their investments as a percentage to the total business, it's going to get harder and harder. And so there is a forcing mechanism at this point in time where retailers are realizing, I can't just win by myself. It is about that connectivity, and it's about choices. And so I see actually a lot of interesting trends in the industry right now. I see more and more retailers thinking through, for example, unified buying experiences. And again, there's a value for that for a certain type of media buyer that's trying to drive business, and like a self-service unified platform may be able to take a whole bunch of friction out of the experience and provide more service and at the same time operational efficiencies for the buyer. But it's not actually what the large brands and agencies are asking for. They are not saying, I want to log into 25 different platforms. They are asking for the ability to actually do things consistently. And so whether you talk to our teams working on Commerce Max, whether you talk to Sky, Packview, and all these other amazing platforms that are out there, and you're listening to them, they are all trying to create almost like a data cube for the brands, for them to see more holistically the spend activity, and more importantly then allowing those optimizations at a single retailer or across multiple retailers. It's ultimately about the empowerment of the brands and agencies to run their business in a way that drives outcomes, because at the end of the day, it isn't a performance game, right? And so if we fall short in allowing the brands and the agencies to optimize their spend, then they're not going to get the performance in order to increase their investments.
So let's talk about that investment. What's going to drive the next wave of growth in the category? Where do you see the money coming from? Why is it going to pour in to the retail media category?
Three key themes. The first one, I firmly believe that retailers have an opportunity to modernize their business. I see that retailers have a fairly comprehensive media offering, but if you compare the business practices of most retailers to Amazon and Walmart and Instacart, they're falling short in providing self-service, and self-service exceeding the notion of, I want to book a campaign. It's actually about self-service activation, and particularly when it comes to on-site display advertising. I'm very excited about the innovation we launched today. We just launched today our auction-based display advertising product that is going to enable greater pricing flexibility and self-service, hitting on the points that I addressed a few minutes ago. I think that's key, because if retailers want to earn a larger portion of the pie that in current state is so highly concentrated with Amazon and Walmart, then they need to live up to the standards that these brands are used for. So modernization is the first one. The second one is connectivity into the ecosystem to meet the buyers where they are. whether it's the platforms that are being used today or whether it's the new partnerships that Criteo continues to form with large players in the ecosystem. And then the third one is going to be really interesting, which is the new optimizations possible through AI.
We are legally required in Cannes to mention AI at least 3 times on every Fireside. You've just done the first. Let's quickly touch on AI again. Just be specific. There's a lot of talk, obviously, about the intersection of AI and retail media. AI features in retail, so they're natural bed buddies. What is AI going to really do to the sector in the next couple of years?
Oh, there are so many possibilities. I want to quickly acknowledge that there's a tremendous amount of room for automation and efficiencies, but what truly fuels my passion is the opportunity for smarter ads. What I'd seen in retail media is that often there's a focus on impression delivery, and I think we as an industry need to do better. We need to drive outcomes. Retail media has always been about outcomes, but with AI technology, there can be new solutions. In the future, I really see a convergence of advertising and search and discovery. With AI technology, specifically Gen AI, there will be new shopping experiences on retailers' websites. And what retailers will need to master is protecting the integrity of the recommendation to the consumer so that they will ensure that they are the preferred shopping destination, while simultaneously scaling their advertising business. And what that will require is mastering 2 things at once. One is giving incremental business results to the brands. They don't want to just pay for the things that they would have gotten anyway, the organic exposure. How do you do that, hit on the incrementality for the brands while simultaneously protecting the integrity of the recommendation? And I think that's where there's going to be some new tooling on the horizon that will allow retailers to manage those trade-offs.
I was on a panel yesterday, and a creative agency exec joked that retail media is where creative goes to die. Do you think that's fair? Will it be fair in 3 years' time?
You mean creative will die? Can you elaborate?
I think the argument was that retail media hasn't historically been a home to great creative.
Well, there will be more opportunities. I think from a retail media standpoint, there are two things. One is retail sites are very precious because I would say, like, even through all publishers care about site experience. Ultimately, for retailers, it's absolutely critical. From latencies to having a positive experience for the shopper, ultimately there are dual objectives that retailers trying to hit. I want to certainly bring in these new ad revenue streams, but I certainly don't want to become a billboard. And particularly as retailers are under pressure to protect their stands as the shopping destination, they will likely get even the standards for shopper experience are probably just going to grow rather than decline. And so in order for the customer to continue to be at the center, creative needs to step up and be more personalized and tailored. So to me, it's not, to me, I look at it as an opportunity. How do we enable even more effective creative in retail media, but also make it standardized? And that's very hard for retailers because they want to be special and have a lot of very custom formats, but particularly if they also want to bring in demand from external sources, they need to simultaneously optimize the shopping experience while making sure that they are conscious in their choices and the trade-offs they may be making in terms of the accessibility into other platforms.
Okay, we are just up against time. We're going to do 2 super quick questions. Question 1, marketplaces. How excited should we be about marketplaces?
Oh, another passion topic of mine. I've seen how retail is transforming. Traditionally, retailers had merchants were buying products and reselling products. But in today's environment, retailers are increasingly leaning into more capital-efficient ways of supporting the product discovery. So there are more and more retailers are becoming hybrid. They are adding marketplace capabilities to their sites. And it's super exciting from a retail media standpoint because you have a more diverse set of advertisers that can lift your bid density and participation. So it's super exciting for both the retail, like digital business, as well as the advertising side of it.
Final 1-sentence answer, if we can manage it. What is your 1-sentence piece of advice to a marketeer or agency that is just getting started on their retail media journey?
If you haven't started, start now.
Love it. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Melanie Zimmermann, thank you.